All right, welcome. It is game day. This is NFL Outdated, and we are going to cover the Illinois-Iowa football game for today. How's it going? I'm joined by Darrin D. Brown, the announcer for Illinois Illini Video. Good morning.
Mornings. Good to be on here.
Absolutely, and I'm a big Hawkeye fan. Went to Iowa and have really enjoyed getting a chance to look at their opponents this year. And this is actually the first game day preview that I've been able to do. So I'm excited. It's in the past there's been a rivalry. It's been a little while since it's really been a true rivalry. Talk a little bit about Illinois. This year the Illini and the season so far, and including that win over Penn State, right?
Yeah, it's been so crazy just because you have a coach in his first year and you've had, great highs beating Minnesota and Penn State, but then you also have those lows of, game time decisions in the fourth quarter where you have games you should have won that you didn't. And then you have, like you said, those games where nobody thinks you have a chance to win that you win. So, and the way they're projecting it with the whatever that thing is, where a 5-7 team can make it. I think if they can, I don't think necessarily they're going to win today, but I think they can pull off a win against Northwestern, and so I think that'd be interesting to see Illinois in a bowl game this year.
Absolutely. In the way Iowa's been playing, even against Northwestern, I had a chance to go to that Northwestern game, and offensively, I really don't, trust them. So I would not, put it past Illinois to beat the Hawkeyes today. So I don't know about that for sure, but I just don't feel confident in this, team this year.
Yeah, I think they definitely dropped from where they were as far as being in the AP poll, but they're still a solid team, and I think better than Illinois at this point still. And they're at home. Iowa's always a tough place to play, no matter who you are, and they've shown that by all the Ohio States and Penn States they've taken down there just routinely. So it'll be a tough one today for sure, but should be fun to watch. Like you said, I like Iowa's offensive line is always fun to watch, year after year, and seeing that run game and how Kirk Ferentz balances the offense. It's always pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, this year the offense has been hasn't necessarily been as fun to watch, but it's because of the quarterback play, and they got a new quarterback, Alex Padilla, and he came in the Northwestern game, and Northwestern's defense, still did pretty decent against him. And talk a little bit about some of the key defensive players for the Illini today and this season.
Well, it starts up front with the new defensive coordinator, Ryan Walters, who's just done an outstanding job taking a defensive roster that's pretty much the same as it's been the last couple of years and just completely turned it around, being able to hold teams to less than 10 points at times, or around 10 points around there, and just being able to mix up looks, something that you never really got, even if you had a defensive-minded head coach like Lovie Smith. You just never had that solid defensive output like you're used to. And they finally found a guy who's great, and they did a great thing in locking him up for 4 more years.
Yeah, I'd say that's a good thing. I mean, yeah, Illinois has been known for defense in the past with a Simeon Rice and some of those players that came out of there.
Yeah, and it's good to have that brand, especially as a Big Ten team where it's known for being low scoring, and you got to have a solid defense that's able to hold teams down.
Absolutely. Well, talk then a little bit about the offensive side. Then, I mean, are there some key players that I read that the quarterback was out for the season, right? Or
yeah, Peter's been hurt, and so they've had or Sitkowski was, and so then either guy they've had their struggles, and that's why the run game is so important, and that's why having that veteran group up front, Verdarian Lowe, Doug Kramer, Alex Palczewski, those guys have been staples of that line for the last few years, and especially Lowe, he's the left tackle. He'll probably be a pretty good NFL draft prospect coming here. And the other two guys will too. And then you got Chase Brown at running back, Josh McCray, that duo there. And Chase Brown, one of the great guys, another guy to look for in the draft as far as a running back who's able to avoid tackles, break tackles, those yards after contact, which is important in getting the run game going, especially for an Illinois team who you can't really rely on the passing game that much. You have to be able to do it on the ground.
Oh, absolutely. And with the way Iowa's been playing, this could be, a tight matchup, and kind of go back and forth. And so it'll be interesting to see, the special teams as well. I mean, are there any how have they been doing this year in the special teams?
Well, you got Blake Hayes, who's always good. And if you go to Illinois games, they always chant MVP. Even louder if the offense isn't doing anything in the game. But and then the kicker, James McCourt, he's been there last year, and he's been solid. Can't complain at all about him. And it seems like sometimes that's the only part of the game that's going well. But
Absolutely.
definitely got a good tandem there.
Well, so you talked about, some of the things that Illinois hopefully can do well. What are some keys to this game that you see specifically as you've kind of, prepared for it?
I think you've got your standard Big Ten. It starts up front, and especially an Iowa team where they're known for their offensive line. The Illinois D-line has been pretty good this year. And like I said, that helps if you're getting different looks for trying to get pressure. But that veteran group up front, if they can generate a lot of pressure, plug up the middle, try to stop the run game, that'll be key. And it's the same thing for the offense. If the Illinois offensive line can get a good push, those guys, Chase Brown, Josh McCray, keep doing their thing, trying to break tackles, just that little by little, put a long drive in and got to get in the end zone.
Yeah, that's definitely been a key for Iowa too, trying to get in that end zone. But yeah, you talked about the defensive line. The offensive line for Iowa has definitely been down this year. Even with Linderbaum, solid in the middle, they just have not done as well. I mean, they allowed Northwestern to kind of get pressure, and it was just not as good of a running game. And I went to the Wisconsin game too. That was just horrid, and part of it because of how good Wisconsin, the Badgers were, with their defensive line. And I think so if you see, it being a close game, that may be the factor, Illinois really, getting the pressure and stopping that run game, right?
Oh, absolutely. If they're able to shut down the run game and make Iowa throw down the field, and just the way the Illinois secondary has been improving, especially guys like Witherspoon, tremendously, then I think they've got a chance to pull off a road win.
Yeah, and I'm not a fan of that, obviously, but I can see it happening, and it's just Illinois has been an interesting program. I mean, talk about a little bit like having kind of hope through this. I mean, Lovie Smith. I mean that. I'm also a Bears fan. I'm being from Cedar Rapids. I'm been close enough to Chicago, so Chicago sports fan, and following the Lovey, regime to Illinois, and talk about that, and then now this transition to Bret Bielema.
Well, initially, I think everyone was excited about Lovey because they really emphasized having NFL experienced coaching, and that was something each year you'd see. They'd put on the video board or on social media, so and so combined years between of NFL experience, which was good, but then it seemed like he didn't really put a lot of care as far as in-state recruiting and all that. And they finally found out once he was gone. There was some high schools up in Chicago or near there. They said he never talked to them at all. And so that was kind of disappointing to find out. And it seems like with Bielema, right away he came in and they assigned an assistant coach to each county in the state of Illinois as far as visiting. And so I think that's pretty good as far as not even just getting more talent, but just the impression you're putting off that if you care about the state of Illinois, people want to go there. And it was fun actually. This year we had a recruit for this next incoming year who's from my high school who just committed to Illinois. It was between them and Iowa, which was fun to look on the local channels. And it's fun because it's a guy really close to Champaign and who was a 3-star recruit and decided to stay at Illinois, even though he could have gone to Iowa. And I think just that message you're putting out that you're getting local guys, if they can continue to do that, then I have a lot of hope.
Well, yeah, especially in Illinois, Chicago, there's definitely a lot of talent there. And yeah, I don't know about this year specifically, but yeah, I mean, even with Iowa, uh, one of the keys is getting those in-state recruits, even through like 3-star athletes, and then coaching them up. I mean, that's huge. You're not going to be even Iowa is not one of those national recruiting. They're just not going to be in the top of the recruiting rankings. I never look at that. But those in-state, solid recruits are huge for a program.
Absolutely. And like I said, not even just you can find talent, especially in the state of Illinois, like with Chicago, that's a big market there. But you want to put off an impression that you care about the state you're in. You want people to go in state.
And so, obviously, that's a good step forward that you weren't seeing under Lovie Smith. Now you have with that. And what about kind of the on the field coaching that you're seeing? And obviously now he's out with COVID for the game, and talk about kind of what you're seeing that way as well.
Well, the play calling, especially, or the 4th down decisions is what just those little moments that have been the defining factor of this season, as far as 3 different decisions is the difference between being 4-6 and 6-4, or possibly 7-3. So I think maybe hoping more as an Illinois fan that those will be gone by next year, and we'll have learned from that, and we can move forward and not be as conservative in decisions like that. But I think other than that, they've been able to put some drives here, especially in the last few games. I think they've been figuring out how to use the run game well, despite not really having a passing attack. And I think for next year, I think they'll be able to put together an even better offense.
Well, yeah, and that's what you always want to keep, especially in college. You always want to keep building for the next year, and so those little things, and just kind of having just a fresh voice as a coach. Does that kind of give you hope that this program can kind of get back into I don't know, obviously regular bowl contention and maybe even in the upper tier of the Big Ten? Or
Yeah, I mean, in his first year, the Minnesota win was the first time that Illinois has beaten a team that's in the college football playoff rankings. And so if he's doing that in his first year, that shows that you're able to beat good teams late in the year. And even if, you don't have a winning record, if you hopefully they split these last few games, which is what I expect to happen. But if you're already, in the Penn State game too, if you're already putting together big wins in your first year, then I expect growth, and everybody expects growth in the next few years. And I think that 6-win mark won't be too far of a reach with Bielema.
Absolutely. Well, and talk about that Penn State game. So then were you at that game?
No, I was at my apartment. I was listening to it.
That was just crazy, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was unbelievable. Didn't think, went in not expecting anything, and then, was astonished by a shocked or a close game, and, went in the fourth quarter. Oh, maybe they can pull this out, and then an exciting 9 overtime finish.
So you obviously were paying attention to the whole game. I mean, just what were your thoughts kind of going through that? I mean, just kind of like, end this already, or I mean, that's just a crazy amount of overtimes.
Yeah, and just the way the defense had been the whole year, like we talked about, it's been the big talking point and the big key for this year. Then you go into overtime and they get 9 stops somehow, or not 9 stops, but keep it going to 9 overtimes.
Yeah,
just stop after stop, and like, how long are they going to keep this going? And they were able to do it enough to let the offense get it done.
Absolutely. Well, and that's, I mean, that's what you want. I mean, you want a defense that's going to, show up when they need to. And, hopefully, eventually you'll get something from the offense then just to get that win. I mean, that's a great all around team win. And I can't imagine how tired they were after that.
No, I can't imagine either. But it's better to. That's why it makes it so much better to come out with a win than a loss.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, talking about previewing the game today. So, what is your score prediction today for the Iowa-Illinois game?
I'll go Iowa 24, Illinois 14.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, I do like that score. I mean, offensively, it's been tough for Iowa to even get 24. So, yeah, I would say probably I'm going to say Iowa 21 17, but it's going to be close. It's not going to be a blowout. Like I don't know who else does Illinois then have on their schedule? They've got
Northwestern.
Oh, that's right. And so
That's at home, so that'll be good as far as chances.
So how has that been a rivalry then, or is the Iowa-Illinois rivalry a little bit bigger than that? I mean, what's the feeling with the fan base on those two games?
Say for football, definitely Northwestern's a bigger rivalry because you've got the Illinois-Iowa men's basketball rivalry just rampant now.
Oh yeah,
but even with Northwestern, they've put multiple wins together against Illinois these last few years, and that's kind of starting to fade away as a rivalry. And so a win not only would help you try to get into a bowl game, but just establish that, hey, you're not going to always beat us anymore. This is going to be a rivalry like it was.
Yeah, so even like going back to this Iowa game, it's been quite a streak here for the Hawkeyes. When I go into a season, there are definitely games that I target. As a Hawkeye fan, you just never know exactly how the team's going to be, but I always want them to beat Iowa State. I always want them to beat Minnesota. And ever since Nebraska came into the league, I always want them to beat Nebraska. So at least those 3 wins, no matter how bad the season is, I want those wins. And for Illinois, obviously Northwestern is one of those, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And Iowa is definitely a target. Are there others then kind of, I mean, you want to win every game, but as an Illinois fan, I mean, it's just kind of like, you look at games and you're like, you can't lose that. I mean, especially if you want to have momentum for a program.
Yeah, the teams that you probably should beat, those routine ones that Indiana, I guess Purdue, well, I guess those 2 teams, not necessarily in recent times, are teams that you're going to get a routine win over. But in past years, that's how it's been. You got to have those teams beat, because if you throw in Ohio State or have a good Michigan team or a Penn State team, it's usually the Big Ten West teams that you just got to beat. And if you're in the West, then you're not doing well. It's just kind of tough in general.
Yeah, the Big Ten's been tough. Iowa always has kind of that ceiling of Ohio State can't beat Ohio State. I mean, we beat out Ohio State that one year, and but that, and when you beat Penn State, that's huge. I mean, that definitely is. You take those wins as a program, and you definitely. As a fan, you build on those, and hopefully also, the coaches build on those as well. And this will be an interesting game. I think it's going to be tight, like we both talked about, and we'll see how it goes. Right?
Yeah, I definitely think it'll be a fun game because you get 2, solid Big Ten teams, I'd say, this year, who have, obviously both had great wins. Iowa just great overall, and Illinois been able to hang with good teams on the road, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, when I went to Iowa, there were a ton of people that came to Iowa from Illinois, so that was part of it, and that added to the rivalry. But you just never know what's going to happen, and I guess that's the good and the bad thing about the Big Ten. It can kind of be nail biting as a fan, but I mean, that's that's exciting when it comes down to on the field.
Yeah, absolutely. You never know what memories you can have, and just with Illinois, you got the Wisconsin game from my freshman year, and then my junior year, I had that Penn State game. And even if you don't really remember anything else from that year, you've got two special moments that you're not ever going to forget.
Absolutely. Well, talking about kind of some of the like special moments coming up for some Illini players. Talk about some of the NFL prospects. I think you brought some up earlier. Who are ones to kind of look at, this year?
You get two, especially on the offensive line that we talked about, Darrin Lowe and Doug Kramer. Kramer is an interior lineman. He's been their starting center this year, and Lowe's been the left tackle. And I think, I'm not sure how it stands now, but for a while he was leading in PFF's pass blocking grade. So if you're looking for a guy who's able to stop the pass rush, then if you can pick him, second or third round, that's a solid pickup for any team.
Yeah, it's interesting because those players, they're not the sexy NFL draft picks, right? But those are the ones that make it go. And I'm not sure, if you're a Bears fan like I am, but that's been a key for the Bears is their offensive line, and that's huge. I mean, you have to have that base to really compete in the NFL, and it's second, third, fourth round. If you can get solid linemen, it's huge.
Absolutely. And I think for Illinois, they used to have a tradition of kind of putting guys in the NFL, even on the O-line, that O-line running back, kind of what you'd see. And the last few years, you just haven't seen that as much. So sometimes getting two people drafted is just an accomplishment, even if they're an early round pick or not. And so just being able to put guys in the NFL is not only good for, showing how good your team is, but being able to recruit.
Absolutely. And what have been some of your favorite kind of players over the years? Like, let's see, Rashard Mendenhall, right? And that was kind of a surprise retirement, but talk about some of your favorite players over the years that have come out of there.
Well, Rashard Mendenhall would definitely be my favorite because he was kind of my first, like my earliest memories of, superstar player. And, him and Juice Williams just were definitely fun to watch. So I would have been 6 in that 2007 year. And we had season tickets in the Horseshoe from 2005 until, whenever I got out of high school. Wow. And so occasionally going to those games was just fun to watch, especially those early years when they were competing against great teams. And always great running backs. I loved Mikel LaShore a lot.
Oh, yeah.
We had Reggie Corbin, Rashard Mendenhall, and this year Chase Brown. It's been fun to watch the running backs here, definitely.
Absolutely. Well, this has been fantastic. We'll definitely have to connect again in the college basketball season, when it's Illinois, Iowa as well. So any kind of final thoughts, as we're preparing for this game today?
Just going to enjoy the game. We've got plenty of Iowa friends down here. We had I got a guy I went to school with a few years ago at Parkland who's a big Iowa fan. I still talk to him. I'll probably send him a text today about the game.
Okay,
I got some people I went to high school with. They're Iowa fans because they I think their parents grew up there, so the whole family's Hawkeye fans. But got plenty of Iowa fans, and it's all respectable. Good luck.
Very good. Very good. Well, once again, it's been NFL Outdated, the Illinois-Iowa preview, and I'm going to say go Hawks. I'll give you the final cheer, though.
All right, ILL.
Very good. And this has been NFL Outdated, and thanks again, Darrin.
All right, thank you.